Hello there, folks, and welcome to the Joe Live Show. I'm your host, Joe Jackson. Today is what, now, January the 14th, 2012. You thought I was going to say 11, didn't you? See, you thought I forgot. Anyway, let me put this disclaimer. The opinions expressed by the host or the guests of the Joe Live Show does not reflect the opinions of Comcast Cable, White Rose Community Television, their staff members, or board of directors. In other words, they don't know nothing about it. They ain't got to do with it. All right. So we have some special guests here today. It's going to be some very interesting topics that you want to hear about. Let's see if I can't read you right. And well, you was a former, Attorney General?
Auditor General and U.S. Congressman.
Well, bring him in. He's a former Auditor General. And other guests, you were...
Steve Conklin. I own a Satori farm up in northern York County.
And we also have another gentleman hiding in the corner. What's his name?
Oh, you don't need to introduce me, but I'm Andy Ostrowski. I'm associated with both these
Okay. All right. I just wanted to, okay. So I'm going to start off here with our former Attorney General, right? Okay. What, there's something we were just talking about, man, that's going on. What we were just talking about a while ago? The people, we want to get the public to see what's going on in that you can make us aware.
Well, I think, Joe, what really brings us here today is I got to know Mr. Conklin and helping him with a legal problem, and we ran into a really rather insidious racist problem in the federal district court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania that shocked us. But as a result of our trying to do something to help Steve Conklin, and we ended up in various combinations, legal combinations, trying to do things through enforcing rights in the federal district court in the Middle District of Pennsylvania, and we ran into an incredible buzzsaw of judicial abuse. And I'll be very honest with you, if we don't realize in this country that we are at risk because of abusive or excessive judicial power in its application, the American promise is never going to be fulfilled.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you said that now. Are you sure it was racism? Because, I mean, you got to be careful using that word. Do people really...
Sure.
I know.
Absolutely. And, you know, I do civil rights practice. I'm a former U.S. congressman. I had the opportunity to pass judgment on some of those kinds of laws. And I assure you, Joe, what happened is very, very simple. Steve down here was trying to deal with a problem before a local municipality. Race played an issue in a hearing. Steve filed a lawsuit. As part of that lawsuit, one of the issues which was raised was, in fact, racism or racial decisions. He had kids from the inner city coming out to enjoy his farm. It was really this simple.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, then he's got local officials coming in and telling him he can't do the things that he wants to do. And race played a definite role in that. We had plenty of evidence, plenty of witnesses. We go to Judge Christopher Connor of the United States District Court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania. Steve files a civil rights suit. And so as not to filibuster your show here, I'll do it in a real simple little description.
Okay.
The judge filed an opinion. The opinion was simply, Joe, and it was racist. It talked about
Excuse me.
children of color and different things in a way that clearly it was racist. Well, we thought it was a mistake. Steve, quite frankly, corrected me, and he was pretty tough about it and ended up being right, and I think I was wrong. I said, no, this judge had to make a mistake.
Right.
He can't be, you know, his law clerk made an error. Well, the fact is, his law clerk didn't make an error. This was the judge's decision. We asked, simply because we asked the judge to reconsider his decision, something we have a right to do.
Right.
We came under attack. I came under incredible attack. Steve came under attack. And this thing has grown to the point where they're after my license. They want to get rid of me. And I criticize the court. And if we criticize the court as lawyers who are controlled by this system, the profession of lawyer is controlled by the court system.
That's scary.
And it is scary, because that means everybody that comes before that court, I will guarantee you, Joe, that lawyers as a class are out there being afraid of what they say and how they say it. And that has an oppressive effect on lawyers and who they represent, which means when you get down to the folks with no money, the folks that don't have political power, don't have big, powerful, well-financed law firms to advance their causes, they're going to lose.
Aren't we also talking about when the judges are doing that, we're talking about a dictator?
Yes, sir.
Isn't that a dictator?
Yes, sir. You're
That's
talking
not what
about
it's about.
authoritarianism.
Yeah. Let me get our caller in here for us real quick here. Hello, Rick. How you doing today?
I'm hanging in there, man. How you doing?
Okay. Well, it's Patrick. Guys, this is Rick. This is one of our Vietnam veterans. We've done a show with them. We honor our vets here. And
Who'd you serve with, Rick?
Rick?
I was in American 196.
Oh, okay.
6970.
You're 6970.
Yep.
I was with 101st, just in Northern I-Corps. I was just north of your AO.
Hey, welcome home, brother.
Hey, you too, pal.
Yeah, we did our thing, didn't we?
We did it, man.
Yeah,
we did it.
We did it. And look what they did to us, ain't?
Well, that's all right. In the end, we'll get the last laugh.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm glad you're staying there for somebody. I was just gonna say, I'm glad you got the backbone to help people out because. Being a Vietnam vet, you got to go to do what you got to do. So keep up the good work and take care of these guys.
That's what you got to do.
That's what you got to do, man.
With Rick and I have done the many shows we do. We had the Native Americans in there. They had a lot of guys. We had some other veterans there. They had the guys crying because Native Americans worship veterans.
Yeah.
They rock it because anybody to take care of this country, that you know. But Rick and I, we've been to a lot. Rick has been there. See, Rick and I, we've been to a lot. But what I liked about him, because he was a veteran, my brothers are veterans. My oldest brother, he's crazy now. That's why I call him, because he did 2 tours of Desert Storm in Vietnam. It made him crazy, I call it, because he drinks beer all the time. but what it does is that it affects people when you come home, and I know, and I see that some states now are starting to recognize that. Mm-hmm. And I was seeing that. I think what's the Lancaster we talked about was the first one. Now to recognize what the post-traumatic stress syndrome. They put up the district attorney. Now York, I understand, is trying to do that now. I hope they do.
You were at the 101st.
Yeah, I was with the 101st. First 502s.
Yeah, we were out 196. We were out. We started on Baldy, and then we went out to Hall Kill.
That was Baldy. Was that the Oshaw? Southern end of the Oshaw?
Yeah, Baldy.
Yeah.
We were at Baldy, and then, the Marine Division came in and took it over, and they moved us up to Hall Kill, and we built LZ Hall Kill up.
Yeah.
So you know what the LZs were like.
Yeah, Tua Tien Province, I think that was, or Quantien. Yeah, but I know it. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, but I knew a bunch of my guys in my vet group with the 101st Airborne.
Yeah, I was with 101st. Our main division rear was Camp Eagle.
Yeah.
That was up near Way, City of Way.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Can you imagine what what we're talking about here about the federal judges? Can you believe can you believe that goes on this time?
At least you got the backbone to stand up against, and I'm glad to hear that.
But to hear with it how they're threatening.
Yeah, that's bull.
That's a dictator. How do these people get on the bench?
I don't know, Joe, but hey, if anybody
I know
can
you
do
got
it,
something to say about that.
do it. He's got the backbone.
But how do you think they get on? He got something to say about it. Go ahead.
The threat. I mean, all I was trying to do is bring kids out of the inner city for the summer to see where eggs come from, for example,
right.
to horse therapy and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I started getting peppered by the township. A zoning officer snuck down on the property. I catch him looking into my back window, and he starts talking about, how many kids you have here, how long they staying, and he just starts peppering me with all these questions. I'm like, who are you? He hadn't even identified himself yet.
Right.
And when he did, I said, you can leave now. Well, subsequently, I get hit up with a cease and desist order. I can't do this and I can't do that and so on. But it was all about the kids. And so I had, I guess, the audacity to appeal to the township board.
Right.
And apparently nobody ever appealed before. Because right after that, I got hit by the Department of State, the Attorney General's Office, DEP, Department of Health, District Justice.
They were doing the book.
I mean, I was getting all these forces coming down on me, and I took it as a retaliatory measure.
It was.
For the fact that I appealed. But when I went to the hearing, during the hearing, the solicitor for the township, she blurts out this stuff, you know, because I'm talking about the kids swimming in my pool. I had fresh air kids and all that, and I hosted for the one particular time for all the families of the fresh air to come down and picnic on the property. And she blurts out about, you mean you let those kids swim in your pool? And she said something, I'm like, whoa, you know.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so,
what country do we live in, you know?
well, leading up to what this retaliation thing and what's coming down in the federal court, so I want to see these transcripts.
Right.
And for the longest time, I can't get the transcripts, but when I do, they're altered. Now, at the time,
I don't doubt that.
At the time of the hearing, I had 6 others there that wrote affidavits, you know, about what was actually said.
Right.
But so the transcripts are changed, and so we want to see the tape.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the tape. It plays my hearing, and then all of a sudden it goes into, I can't remember if it was West Manchester Township or Manchester Township in the middle of their meeting, and then it comes back to me. Like, you know, almost Nixonian, like there's this piece that's missing, you know, then it comes back to my
But, you know, we had 7 affidavits to back Steve up.
Yeah, there were 7.
There were 7 people that heard the racist comments that were made, and we got affidavits from them. So Steve had evidence that transcript was altered.
All 7 of those individuals were deposed by opposing counsel, and not one of them were refuted or rebutted.
Oh yeah, you know, I mean, they're all crooked.
Well, let me get to Judge Connor's opinion. This was May 26th of 2006.
Yeah.
He writes in a footnote, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but this is what it meant, and I was the first one to see it as it was coming off. The plaintiff, being me, does not claim to be a minority. So what is plaintiff's problem with, and he puts in quotation, little children of color, end of quotation, being discriminated against on his property? I mean, I was like, what?
Yeah.
This guy needs to be recused.
Yeah.
You know, Rick, you gotta understand, Rick, how basic this point is. In other words, if you're out there and some government official comes in and does something to you for an improper racist reason, in order for you to complain, you don't have to be black to complain.
Well, no.
But this is what the judge.
That's what he said. That's exactly what he said.
So,
just unbelievable.
In my opinion,
I'm going to let you guys talk and listen to this because this is interesting, and I want to listen to this whole thing.
I want to remind you of something. I'll let you go. But you remember, wasn't it last year we just had issue of some swimming pool?
Yeah.
It was an organization that did not allow black people to be in the swimming pool. That was just last year, and they sued them, and then now they're reversing it. And it sound like the same thing.
Yeah.
All right, okay, I'll let you go,
Hey,
Rick.
well, look again, buddy. Welcome home, brother.
Okay,
and
thank you,
I
Rick.
appreciate you guys talking. This is really interesting. I want to hear this.
I want to hear my other buddy from Florida. I know he's down there watching. Give us a call in.
See you guys later.
Thanks,
Rick. I said hi.
All right, I will.
All right.
Yeah, waiting on our buddy from Florida to call, and he always calls me, and then we're going to yell. He'll really get on and talk. He's another Vietnam veteran. But yeah, that's what you're saying. I mean, it's obvious. It don't take no rocket science to figure that out.
in my opinion, at the time, and I was outraged. I was the first one to read it.
Yeah.
At minimum, he has racial insensitivity. At minimum, he's an out-and-out racist. But in either way, I could not see, and that's fine. You want to have those. I mean, that's part of the beauty of America. You got like Westboro; they can say all sorts of things, you know, as ugly as it is. But you don't do it from a bench. You don't do it where you have sway over others with your opinion that holds weight. You know, if you want to have that in your private life, that you want to be, anti-gay, you're against, you're a racist or whatever, bigot, whatever. That's fine in your private life, but not from the bench of a court.
And that's big. Well, judges are supposed to be blunt. Obviously, it's not in that case.
They're supposed to operate with cold neutrality.
The mask is off.
But you know, Joe, it was the hatefulness and the vindictiveness in coming after me, but mostly what. I'm a lawyer. I'm used to watching this stuff. Judges misbehave. And if you say they misbehave, they come after your license because you criticize them. But the thing that offended me was, here's Stephen Conklin, who's there asking simply for a hearing in court, and he's being mistreated. That's outrageous.
Well, let me just jump to this part. What can you legally do about a judge that's doing something like that?
Here's the problem, and you just put your finger right on top of the main problem.
Okay.
Our federal district courts are not capable of disciplining themselves. We do not have institutions in this country where an attorney or where citizens can go to get meaningful review, meaningful evaluations, objective evaluations of judicial misconduct. They control all of this themselves, and I'm telling you something, our country's at risk. It is at
That
risk.
explains it. That's why they can do what they do, because they ain't worried about you.
They can do whatever they want to
figure,
do.
what can you do to me? You know, I'm invincible.
Right. That's exactly right.
I do have a website up, Impeach Judge Connor.
Okay.
He's got to go.
But what's your website? Give them out to the people. Okay, we got Frank Williams. Go ahead. How would you do it? Give your website out.
It's impeached. If you just type in Impeach Judge Connor, it's going to come right up.
All right. Let me get Mr. Williams in it. Hello, Mr. Williams. How you doing today? I haven't heard from you for about a week.
Hi, Joe. Well, I called in at the end of last week's show, but
I heard about it, but that's
didn't
okay.
want to go on the air.
That's okay. Go ahead.
But I sort of figured I missed the first minute or two, just the
You want him to recap?
of your guests and the subject.
Okay.
And I understand that Steve's farm is up in Manchester Township. Is that
No, sir. It's outside of Lewisberry.
outside of Lewisberry? So it's a little bit north of Manchester Township.
Yeah, I'm in
you know,
Warrington Township.
I'm sorry?
I'm in Warrington Township.
Oh, you're in Warrington.
Same as Pinchot Park.
Right. I'm more familiar with the north end of the county and the northwest corner than I am the south or southeast. So I'm pretty well acquainted with not too many York Countyans from the south end who know where Crawltown is.
Ah.
But I bet you do.
Yes, sir, I do.
I guess I figured when I heard the first part of the explanation of your troubles, I knew I was going to hear the word zoning. I knew that was going to come up, and I don't know if I would say privileged or resigned to serving on the York City Zoning Hearing Board. I have been for, I guess, about 8 or 9 years now. And, you know, when I was asked to serve on the board, I was elated. I thought it would be a great opportunity to help the community and to help people. I thought we would be there to enable good people to do good things that they wanted to do. I thought we were there, of course, first of all, I thought to make sure that nobody's home that somebody doesn't locate a toxic waste dump or a 3,000 hog farm. Not that we have to worry about those things that much in the city, but, you know, there are some things that just should not be located right next to a residence. And I thought that zoning laws would be based on or geared towards protecting human life and safety and health. And come to find out, that's maybe 10-15% of zoning law. The rest of it is based on what I view as prejudice, not necessarily racial, but class prejudice. Zoning laws are usually written by the more privileged and propertied people, and used against the poor and, you know, people who, as Don Bailey, I think, said, can't afford a high-powered, high-priced law firm. And you know, I wonder sometimes why I stay with it. And I think it's just to see how absurd and bizarre the next step is going to be, the next case. I I'm so frustrated, and I'm so close to burnout, because I had a piece in the York Sunday paper about a year and a half or 2 years ago, where I had a catalog of the bizarre, totally pointless, authoritarian steps that had been taken by zoning officers in different municipalities. Only a few of them involved York City. They were all over the county. They're not limited to the north or the south. Where zoning officers have a lot of power, and I'm afraid many of them have a lot more power than sense and discretion, and they can drive around. And one of them, the case that really aggravated me the most was people down just on the south side of York in Spring Garden Township had a couple of they lived on a hillside. You couldn't mow it. And they had a couple of little pygmy goats to keep the weeds down and the grass on this hillside. And the township zoning officer came along and said, "You can't have them.
I remember that case.
They're agricultural animals. They're farm animals. You can't have it." They had a petition signed by something like 100 neighbors saying they enjoyed having these little goats. They came over and petted them and visited with them. And they appealed, the couple appealed the zoning officer, who I understand didn't even live in Spring Garden Township, talking about having foreigners control your life. And they appealed. If you want to appeal a decision of a zoning officer, you appeal it. Well, in some cases, you can get the municipal governing board, the council or the board of supervisors or whatever, to overrule the zoning officer. But they don't like to do that because they're friends, and they feel like they have their part of the system, and they don't like to overrule their zoning officer, even though I think sometimes in private they must think, what in the hell is the matter with these people? But in the meeting, they will rarely overrule the zoning officer, no matter how crazy they get. And, you can take it to court then if you have the money. All this in order to have a little bit of say about what you do with what is supposed to be your property. And there were cases all over the county. There were crazy cases all over the county, as far as Hanover, East Berlin, the north of York, and I told somebody, I think we have lost in our city halls and township offices, I think we have lost a lot of what thousands, tens of thousands of young Americans gave their lives for in battles all over the world, and protected for us our freedom. And we've lost a lot of it in our state legislatures, our city halls. And I wish you all kinds of, I wish you nothing but success, and I wish you well. I think yours is an extreme example in a bad direction, very bad direction, of what happens when the law goes too far, when too much power is given to the law, when it goes far beyond the protection of life and safety and health, and what color you can paint your house, and trying to draw a distinction, what kind of pigs are farm animals and what kind of pigs are pets.
Okay, but let me ask you a question, Mr. Williams. You ready? You ready for this question?
Ask the question. I'm probably in enough trouble.
No, you're not in trouble. Aren't you glad we're still here so you can voice your opinions?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Could I make a comment, Mr. Williams?
And I'm going to be helping to pay for it.
Yes, I know you are. I'm counting you. I'm coming to your house. No, I'm kidding.
Could I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I just, if there's some way that I could get a copy of this man's, I don't know him,
But to show here?
the gentleman I've just listened to right here, if I could get some way to get a copy of the comments, the analysis, the judgment, this is an amazing example. This is an amazing example of what makes this
We'll do that before the show's over.
the country that it is, because you couldn't find a better piece of thinking,
Don't call it
common
nothing,
sense,
let me say that.
kindness, understanding, rationality in the whole damned U.S. Senate and the U.S. House, and I served there. And I just, you know, it's what makes this First Amendment what it is. It's what makes what we're doing here really the essence of America, not what this abusive federal judge and his bullying and his highbrow self-importance has done to Steve and to me. But Mr. Williams, I just, there were a lot of sentiments in what you said there, and they really hit home, and they're very valuable. And I'm grateful to say that you're a fellow citizen.
Well, I appreciate that very much, and it does shock me even more. I think it's another extreme part of this case is that you went where people think they will get relief from.
Wow, you're exactly
Right
right
on
on,
The
exactly.
federal court.
Yeah,
I mean, time and again, all over the country, you have local officials too full of themselves, carried away with their power and their authority, and when people go into federal court, they get relief. They get somebody telling local officials, look, you can't do that in this country. But it sounds like you apparently got the wrong, somebody who shouldn't have been where he was.
You know, all that you can expect, just to follow on to what the outstanding point that you're making, all that you can ask for. First of all, judges are human beings. They err. They make mistakes. They sometimes make errors in judgment. They sometimes evaluate things wrong. They are human beings. But the only reason you go to court, why you have a faith in that system, it goes back to the Federalist Papers and the writings by Madison and Jay and Hamilton when they were out to ratify the amendments to the Constitution. And it is that, you know, the greatest way to satisfy people is to provide them with a fair and open opportunity to resolve civil disputes, a court system. And all you expect when you go into court is to be treated fairly. Now, if this judge made a mistake, and we ask him to reconsider, and we properly ask him to reconsider, that should have been the end of it. He could decide yes, he could decide no, whatever. He could have. That's the way the process is supposed to work.
But that's where the whole thing got exacerbated.
Exactly. The hate, the vindictiveness, going after Steve, going after me, and this judge got into a personal vendetta to use the abusive lawyers' disciplinary system in this state, which is a joke when you talk about due process, and it became a living example to us as this is how you abuse and use the system to oppress, to prevent people from getting fair decisions. And when you magnify that with big law firms and the money and the connections and the appointments by senators and presidents, you end up with a quality of government that suffers, and it's not American.
If I may, I need to put this in context. You know, I wanted this judge recused because clearly he should not be hearing cases, at least my case, involving race, okay? But, you know, I acquiesced to Don because, give him a chance to explain himself or, whatever mistake was made or, and so politely he reconsider what you're saying. I mean, it doesn't make sense. This judge came back with a rule to show cause why Don shouldn't be sanctioned. Are you ready for this? Are you sitting down? Grammatical errors. Grammatical errors. doesn't address what the issue that was put back in front of him. As a matter of fact, this went on for months and months. He's trying to hit Don up to sanction him for grammatical errors because maybe he didn't put a comma where it needs to be, or whatever the case is. And that really infuriated me.
But you know what was best? You know what was best about that, Mr. Williams? It's so funny about this, as Steve can tell you. So we went back and we start looking at this judge's orders. We found misspellings. We found an order where he corrected himself.
Citation.
Yeah,
he mistyped case citations.
He used cases to support his argument that, honest to God, a first-year law student wouldn't make the error. Then he went back, and we found 2 orders where he corrected himself on a race case, Joe, on a race case in York, Joe, from York, brought by a Pennsylvania state trooper. And you know that guy corrected himself. I tell you, you got to look at this because it's almost like a mental illness thing. You look at this thing. He corrected himself 26 different times. Change this comma here, add the word again, insert another comma. You would have to see this.
I want a semicolon placed here. You know,
that's mental. There's something wrong.
Did he act for the blue paper behind the other paper?
And this judge is up in Harrisburg.
He's up in Harrisburg. Yeah.
He wants to speak up. Speak louder.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just had a question for Steve or Don.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was sitting here and it never occurred to me.
Let me just turn this one on. Go ahead.
Did Judge Connor ever say, I'm not racist? Did he ever
No.
offer any
No.
assurance to you? Did
he never
ever do
addressed the
anything?
issue.
Never. Let me address that. It's an important point. What he did was, Steve, he accused, I don't know if he accused you, I can't remember. I know he accused
attacked me.
He accused me of saying that he was a racist. The ironic thing about that was that never happened. That's false. He was never called a racist. What we said, or what I said, and I was, Steve is correct. Steve was right, I was wrong about how far, what was wrong with this gentleman. But for saying that now, they want to try to sanction me. Well, they can go jump in a lake because nobody's going to intimidate me, and that includes him and his friends on the federal bench. But the thing that's funny, what's really interesting about that is that all we wrote in the motion to reconsider is words to the effect of, Your Honor, this decision is capable of a racist determination. I mean, we bent over backwards to provide room to correct, to modify, to be reasonable, to be fair. And what we got for it was just literally slapped in the face. And then there's a whole other story because he comes out with an order later on attacking me, and I just caught him with his foot in it. And I caught him with his foot in his mouth. And that's what led to a Supreme Court writ that we wrote about judges not being able to discipline themselves. And the whole way through the system, we began to learn that the difficulty with the federal court system is, in fact, that you've got a system that is out of control. It has incredible power. It controls lawyers. Lawyers dare not speak up. They dare not criticize. And the result of that are federal court decisions which are running this country and ignoring the law when they want to, just like they did in Steve's case, where his promissory note and different documents were set aside and they were ignored when he had every right to them, and his property is being stolen from him.
Yeah, that's a whole other story they're trying to work on. But I'm thinking about back to just a moment more on this judge, because he really has me peaked.
That's an inside joke.
Yeah, it's an inside joke but anyways, I started looking at other cases, and Schultz comes to mind. And this is the mindset of this judge. Here's a young couple that got married, and they rented out, I don't remember if it was the Moose Lodge or...
It's the Eagles.
Eagles, thank you. And some cops came in, and they had some black guests, and they started pushing around some of the black guests.
Forgot about that. You're right.
In particular, one was being bullied around, and they kept calling him little boy. Now, here's the judge's take on this, and I'm paraphrasing slightly. If they had said boy, we could see that there might be some racial animus there. But because he said little in front of it, he's really just attacking he's really just attacking his manhood. That's how this judge thinks.
And let me tell you what they did on that to back Steve up. What happened in this case was that this couple is in playing music. Out in front, there's a guy who's in charge of the bar part of the club. And he says, we don't want any N music in here. And then they call these police officers who comes in, and I represent a lot of police officers. I sue a lot of police. I'm an equal opportunity suer.
Okay.
And I try when it comes to people's civil rights. So anyway, they come in, they break into these people, into their wedding reception. And this very large and powerful state police officer, they picked one boy up, smashed his teeth in the floor, and he lost his front teeth. And what they did then was, when we appealed the case, they went down to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, and they get these panels, and it shows up where they come in and they support these judges who are constantly getting appealed, at least by me.
Same panel.
Same
panel every time.
And they come in and they chime in with this same stuff. It's, you can't, if you criticize, there's a different standard that of First Amendment applied to situations where lawyers have things to offer or criticize or things to say about what goes on in the court system. The same court system that's applying judicial standards and constitutional standards to the population at large totally controls and has totally different standards internally as to what can be said. And they use those standards to control the behavior of attorneys and therefore their access to the courts and to fair hearings. And I will tell you something, I cannot stress this enough. If you sit down and study what comes out of that court system and look at the effect of large law firms and political connections, etc., we need to separate the attorney discipline function in this country from control by the courts, because it gives them the power and ability to control the nature of access to the courts, the nature of subject matter, and the way in which an attorney will vigorously pursue their client's interests. We don't realize what a problem this is in this country.
I'm going to go. Thank you,
Okay.
Joe.
All right, sir. Thank
It was my
you.
privilege to talk to both of you gentlemen, and I'm interested in hearing what other callers hopefully have.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you,
Mr.
sir, very
Franklin.
much.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye. Bye. Okay. Hey, Anna, do we have Ted Branson's number? You have his number?
Ted Brandon?
Yeah. That's my crazy lawyer buddy. That's the guy, that guy, he always makes me laugh. Ted's a radical attorney. I get a kick out. Every time he calls in, he say, Joe, I get death threats for what I said. Oh, that's what he tells me. I said, oh, I had to line one first. I said, yeah, because Ted called, I mean, the whole time he's calling in, he is so opinionated. I just, they got a lot of opinions, but, okay.
Line 1, Deborah?
Deborah, line 1. Hello, Deborah, you're live with Joe.
Hi, yeah, I'm watching your show streaming in, and
Okay.
I don't want to get on live or anything, but I would like to know if Mr. Bailey and I think it's Mr. Conklin have any kind of a website. I tuned in kind of late.
Okay, you want me to turn you off then so they can give them to you?
Well, can you just ask? I would rather
Yeah.
not.
Well,
You're already on the air, I'm sorry.
Oh, I am.
Steve,
Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi.
I can answer real quick, and then I'll turn you over to Steve because he has more information. I do have a website.
You got a pencil and paper ready?
Yes, I
go
have
ahead.
a pencil ready.
All right, go ahead.
And I have not populated it much lately, but I'm going to because I have a lot of information on there. But the best mine is donbaileylaw.com. But the best ones is Andy Ostrowski is here. He has a civil rights committee that he runs and has a website, and he puts all kinds of stuff on there. And Steve's website also has a lot of information. And then there's a website, I think it's called judicialcorruption.com. So I'm gonna get off of here And thank you very much for asking. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of information on these websites. Let me turn you over to these guys.
All right, go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you.
All right.
The one site is, and you spell this out, all one word, is
Okay, I'm writing.
Pennsylvania Civil Rights Law Network.com.
Is that mall?
Law.
Law, L-A-W?
Correct. All one
Okay.
word. Pennsylvania spelled out.
Okay.
Now that's got a wealth of information of what's going on in the court systems.
Pennsylvania law.
Pennsylvania Civil Rights
Civil rights.
Law Network.com.
Pennsylvania Civil Rights Law Network.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Another one is judicial hyphen with a hyphen corruption.net. That has a lot of what's going on from, all over the place.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Oh, all
Thanks
right.
so much.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, I'm going to remind, I'll get my next caller in just a moment. I want to remind people that are tuning in now, on my left here is sitting there, this is Don Bailey. He's a former congressman. He's also the former Auditor General of the state of Pennsylvania. So I wanted to, and then on my right here is Stephen Conklin, owner of Satori Farms. Okay, so this is on my right here, and they were talking about a number of things that's happening with our judicial system. They have found the corruption's in there. They're trying to point you out to it, and see if anyone, if there's any other attorneys out there that maybe want to join him and help him some way or another, because what he's saying does affect almost all the attorneys, really. I mean, because these courts are putting fear into the attorneys if you try to fight your cases, and in some way, there's got to be some way you can stand up
That's
to these
how
people.
they control.
That's a dictatorship. And that's not what the law was about. Let me get this next call. I know you. I know. Okay. All right. Let me get Maria in here. Hello, Maria. You're on the air with Joe. How you doing today?
Fine. How you doing, Joe?
Okay. Well, we're getting a wealth of information here.
Hi, Maria.
Yeah, I told you it's an interesting story, isn't
Yes,
it?
it is. It very is. Yes.
I have 3 comments to make. The
Sure.
first one is I just want to tell Don Bailey that I've just gotten into finding out about him in the past probably 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a personal hero to me.
Yeah.
What happened with the Auditor General is another absolutely fascinating story about the corruption.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I've been telling people this is the man that should be the poster child for Occupy. And I want to invite Don Bailey to do a teach-in with York Occupy. I would love to have him really go over this story. I think he should have a book. It's an incredible story. The second thing I wanted to say is Judge Mariani has a perfect opportunity here to come forward and do the right thing and stop all this corruption that has become so prevalent that we've seen not only in the city but in the state in the past few years. It's just been a disgrace. And the third thing I wanted to say is I want to see lots of faces in York in front of the Judicial Center, 45 George Street, on Monday morning from...
Martin Luther King Day.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And we didn't even plan it that way. It just kind of happened. There's no coincidences in life.
Stuff happens.
From
Go ahead.
10 till noon, and we are out there to raise awareness that this situation needs to be taken care of, and we need to stop them from continuously threatening and not giving Stephen and his family their due process and their day in court.
The other thing I've said with Mr. Bailey, Don Bailey here with the counselor, see, the thing, that's what they do. When you start sticking up for your rights, they start attacking you. And everything that he was saying is exactly what they do. Soon as they see his judge seen he couldn't intimidate him, now he's going to start attacking him. You're going to threaten him with different things. I'll sanction this, and I'll kick you out. They start that. That's when you can tell that you got him. So that's the way
Desperate
you really
measure.
Yeah, it is. That tells them, yeah, now they're afraid of him. They're really afraid of him. So they're sitting there back now. I know he knows it. They're sitting there probably trying to plan out how to get this man off their back, so they keep doing it.
They have to get rid of me. Yeah.
Well,
they have to do that.
Yeah, I know that because now you see he's bringing the stuff that a lot of, like he says, a lot of attorneys ain't got the nerve. They're scared of losing their.
Well, when I started down this
Yeah.
road, Joe, I knew, Andy, Steve could tell you this. I knew this would happen to me. But you take counsel with your conscience and you say, I have to do the right thing.
Right.
And and there's some good, decent judges out there. Don't
I know.
don't generalize. There are some good and decent people. The trouble with judges and the judicial arena is that it's controlled from the top down in an improper way. Number two, judges are much like police officers, and I've represented police officers, I've sued police officers. There is a tendency in the profession, when you got a bad cop, you look the other way. And the trouble with a bad judge is no one will stand up, do anything about it, and the tendency of judges in the profession is, you're aloof, you're above this. You certainly are not activist when it comes to trying to correct the system and discipline it. And it is a huge institutional weakness in the American system, and that is judicial control of attorney discipline and the extent to which judges control some conduct before the courts. We need some checks and balances in there.
In this particular case, and I've said this before in other venues, but Don is a messenger. And he represents so many people that have absolutely nowhere else to go. Nobody was going to take up their cause because of who's going to buck the system.
Yeah.
And the whole idea here is to shoot the messenger now. There's an all-out effort to shoot the messenger so the message itself dies. And countless, hundreds of people will not ever be heard. And that's really what's going on here, insofar as my friend Don. But, that's that. The message has got to get out. The word's got to be heard. People have to, unite behind it. There's power in numbers of people. And what Maria is suggesting for Monday is just one example of it. This is what we need to do. And this is why we're on the show.
All right. Okay, Maria?
No, not yet.
Come on.
Not letting you off that easy.
All right, go
I want
ahead.
to ask Mr. Bailey if he'll teach how to teach it.
The answer is, I heard you say that earlier. I was going to follow up on it. The answer is yes. I will. Very happy to put myself at your disposal. Very happy to answer questions, provide information. If you can stand listening to me, but I got the information.
I appreciate that so much because I think the only way to change this stuff is to get it out in the public.
That's true.
Get people educated.
That's true.
And, push for a better direction. And I think it's a perfect opportunity to do that. And I will see you guys Monday morning.
But let me get you started on something else you didn't talk about. How about this? What's that, Michelle's oral stuff that we've been talking about? We didn't talk about that.
What's that?
About the Michelle's shell orals?
Oh, the Marcellus shale.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Anybody interested in the shale? I heard the gentleman before talking about the zoning with factory farms. Well, they're trying to push the same bill, a Senate bill, which is 1100, a House bill 1950, which is going to remove local control from the townships, and what they want to do is send ordinance reviews up to the Attorney General.
Now, go ahead. Now, Maria, just want to add there, because some of the negative side is some people think that it was going to be okay because it's going to create a lot of jobs. Now, like I had watched and stuff, a lot of times that they make mistakes that the gas is going to come, people turn on the water lighter, you got fire coming out your water pipes and all that. And they're drilling 1.5 miles down and doing exactly where the problems was can occur. And but I've heard so many people talk about how many jobs it's going to create, and they're worried about more creating the jobs than because I guess they're trying to tell everybody everything they can do is safe and all that and whatever. I don't know, but the governor is allowing a lot of stuff to happen to people who are not happy about. But I'll let you try to get into that a
Well,
little bit.
Maria, could I ask you a question?
Sure.
Has Pennsylvania adopted or implemented a severance tax on gas?
No, and this is part of this bill that they're coming up with. What they're trying to do is put the carrot in front of the townships. So what they're trying to do is say, we will give, now listen to this, a 1% impact fee, but in return, what we're going to do is we're going to do the Attorney General review of the ordinances, meaning that if a natural gas, if the industry or if a leaseholder feels that an ordinance is too restrictive, that they can send it up to the Attorney General, and what happens then, the Attorney General will send something back to the municipality saying, you need to change your ordinance, or we're taking you to court and we're suing you.
Let me just make a comment, and I'm going to plead ignorance here because I haven't started to look at this yet. The difficulty with an impact fee is essentially it's probably a one-time pay thing. Number two, the idea behind a severance tax is that as that wealth comes out of the ground, and this is where a lot of people have made complaints about Governor Corbett. I filed a major lawsuit against Governor Corbett on behalf of one of his own attorneys who was being abused because he was a whistleblower. All whistleblowers are incidentally under assault by our federal courts, ironically. Yeah. But in any event, the severance tax, you see, provides money to the taxpayer on the basis of the 1,000 cubic foot measurement of all of the gas that comes out of the deep wells that go down there about a mile. They go down over 5,000 feet, and they get into the gassy coal veins where this so there's so much CH4, the gas that comes out of there, natural gas. Right. The whole difficulty with this is, you know, the only thing I could say in terms of a severance tax is somebody's got to be making a deal with the industry, because the severance tax is something that would favor taxpayers and help Pennsylvania that has a regressive tax structure anyway. And I haven't studied it that much, but I understand Corbett has stayed away from the severance tax issue.
Yes, Corbett has taken $1.6 million in campaign funds from this industry.
He's bought and paid for.
Oh, yeah. We are the only state where they're doing drilling and there is no severance tax or fee.
Yeah, he is bought. He needs to be investigated. Absolutely.
It's criminal. It's criminal. Tuesday, you can watch that on the news. Tuesday we'll be in Harrisburg. I'm speaking at a rally there that we're going to have against this ordinance that they're trying to trade. But that'll be in Tuesday's headlines, I'm sure, because this is a big issue. But I hope to see everybody Monday down there. And
I remember when Corbett was Attorney General. I remember there was people were caught in that he was opposed to. They said it was his job to investigate that, and he wasn't. And they knew stuff was going wrong back then. You know how he stayed away from the issue. And now he's the governor now, you know, so of course he's definitely away from it.
There's so many issues, from what's going on at Penn State.
Absolutely, Maria.
Abuse.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. This is the nature of government in Pennsylvania. Cover up, power, you know, buddy systems, friend helping friend, large law. Probably a good argument could be made that Pennsylvania is essentially run by very large and powerful law firms. Yeah. And those connections provide the political gravy, and Corbett is somebody that really ought to be looked at.
There's many places looking. Let's just hope that the strings start unraveling.
But you know, Maria, I've dealt with that for years too, and I'm very distrustful because I've seen federal grand juries, some of the judges that supervise them, and they're cover-up exercises. You know, the secrecy of the grand jury can be as much of an impressive tool as it is something that helps in an investigation. Unless you get an objective and independent prosecutor, because a grand jury will do, it will indict the proverbial or metaphoric ham sandwich that the U.S. attorney asks them to look at. And Corbett, some of his closeness with the power structure in Harrisburg, some magistrate judges and some judges and others really need to be. Steve is smiling at me right now, and he's figuring. Steve is wondering if I'm going to get home alive tonight. But you know,
you and me both.
Well,
But
you know,
that's
the only protection you have, and I did learn this a long time ago when I was Auditor General. The only protection you have is folks like you here. It's public. It's to talk about it. It's the only freedom you have, and that's really what makes our country a little different. The First Amendment, not these so-called officials who claim to be looking out for our interests, because I'm afraid the majority of them are indisposed to being crooked.
Oh, absolutely. And this is why this year is important, because here we have a chance. It's elections. We have a chance, and I know I've already talked about this with Dan McCaffrey, who's running for Attorney General. And this is going to be one of the most important elections, races in this state, because this is going to decide the future. Whether you're for drilling or against drilling, we all want it done so it protects the water. We all want it done so it protects the environment. And while we're cutting police jobs, teachers' jobs, if we're sitting on a Saudi Arabia of wealth, why do we have teachers in Delaware County that are working for free because they can't get paid? This is ridiculous. But anyway, back on to the Satori farm. You're going to get me on my other soapbox.
All right. All right. Okay. I just had to get that in there. Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Maria.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Let me just, I'm just sort of changing direction just slightly for a minute, because I want to ask you, the Auditor General, this question. Now, this is something I've asked a number of attorneys. I'm concerned about this. All right, double jeopardy when a person is convicted of something, right? Now, I got to read why I'm asking. I'm trying people's other lawyers' mind. I thought, okay, if a person broke the law, for example, and they went to court, judge sentenced them, whatever, they go to jail or fine or whatever, and they've satisfied that, took care of that, how come the record always follows them for the rest of their life? They're still viewed as though they're still under breaking the law. And didn't that slightly would be like double jeopardy, still making them pay for something?
All right, Joe, I don't think that's an issue of double jeopardy, but let me tell you something. It's an issue that is abused. Double jeopardy, by the way, jeopardy can attach before a conviction takes place. But essentially, the core, the common sense idea behind double jeopardy is that you can't keep retrying somebody, and it's good old-fashioned, solid, common sense justice. And you can't just keep trying somebody for the same thing over and over again. Now, as far as records and stuff like that, this is a huge problem in America. I had a gentleman come to see me not long ago who couldn't get a job because the company had that he was going to be hired for. It's right up a line of what you're saying. Had gotten in touch with a firm down in North Carolina that does a research on backgrounds. And believe it or not, and it's against the law, by the way, guess where they got their information? They got it from the administrative offices of the Pennsylvania courts. And what happened was this fella had like 4 or 5 citations for traffic. These were these are summary, not misdemeanors or not felonies. And there was a citation. He's found not guilty, or they're dismissed. They're reported into the court system up there, and this information was made available to this firm by simply accessing over the internet what his background or record was. What is done with records in this country is wrong. I'm going to say something that folks are maybe going to be a little unhappy with. But if you take a felon, what is the rationale behind having a felon not be allowed to vote? Sometimes people that go to prison, they redeem themselves.
Yeah.
They learn great lessons. And you can be charged with a felony for writing a $50 bad check.
Right.
We've created in this country, perhaps inadvertently, but we have created a criminal class in many ways. And these records do follow people. They destroy lives. And we need to do something about this stuff with records and privacy and the effect on due process. And also, how easy it is to get information from the public record about people.
Yeah, I was always wondering because, like you said, it was my idea when I talked to a lot of people that go back and forth to jail. And I used to ask, I said, why do you keep going back there? They say, hey, I can't find no job. What's the use? What difference does it make? I got to steal or do something to live. I got to live like everybody else. I said, yeah, but, you say, well, can't you try harder? Where? Nobody's going to let you in there. So, then as soon as they do a background check, but see the thing I looked at a paper one day they have about how they do background checks, right? Then they'll ask them questions like, why are you getting a background check? Is it for a job or whatever? Don't matter what you're putting on there. They're going to put everything you did. It doesn't matter. I say, I don't even want to even answer. They're just going to tell you, hey, well, they did this and did that. What difference does that make? What's it for? Or are they going to say, well, since you're trying to get a job, I won't tell them about this? No, that ain't it.
Well, they have a local rule, a local federal rule, for example, about putting in a pleading information about somebody's past and that sort of thing. And it says that attorneys are not supposed to do that. So a local insurance company attorney up here, up in Harrisburg, utilizes this procedure to smear this stuff all over a record. You know what the courts do about it? Nothing. I mean, it's abused. It's misused.
They do it now.
It's misused.
If you go to rent a house now, they do background checks on you. They can stop you from being renting a house. Landlords can use it against you.
Well, there's a huge problem in the United States with information that's being kept on people that's of a private nature because it can be so misused. But what the data banks of our criminal justice system is full of in some cases is, if you go to the FBI, I assure you, you're in this business here, I assure you, there's going to be some file on you.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there is.
Okay.
I talk too much.
Absolutely. There's going to be, when you try to get that information.
You already caused me trouble, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you something. You got one going on now. You're sitting here with me. I'll guarantee you're going to get it. But the point is, you try to get that information, try to Freedom of Information Act request. It's like pulling teeth. To go to the FBI, it'll take, on average, well over a year just to get the information that they have on you. And believe me, J. Edgar Hoover, who clearly the greatest criminal in American history. Okay. Of course, now they named a building after him down there in D.C. But J. Edgar Hoover, he started files, and what he started was a process that keeps files on just literally millions of people.
But you know what I saw? I'm going to get my call in just a minute. But you know what I saw? When I had the opportunity for the city here to go to the Citizens Police Academy, and I had a chance to go through that and to see what the police do and how they perfect their laws and arrests and that. Scared the heck out of me when we had to go one time for the lights and siren. I said, man, I was ready to get out of there. I said, you can stop the car. I mean, they be flooring them cars. If you hit something, we're both dead.
But
here was the thing. The one thing I noticed that they had on their computers, if they bring up anybody's name, which surprised me, they got pictures of everybody that's living in the house. Everybody's in your home. And I don't know if I was supposed to see that, but the cop that was doing it, he was going through the list and putting up different street from College Avenue, everything. Everybody that lives in that house, they got a picture of them.
I can tell you, I as I said to you, I represent probably 2 to 3 dozen state police officers who are suing state police leadership over abuses of their rights. Okay. I represent a lot of public employees in their First Amendment rights, and that's a whole different legal area, by the way. And there's some fine officers. I mean, we have some fine people, but we have some bad people. One of the problems in our system is, Joe, there are no laws that really control or regulate what a police officer can keep in his private files. Now, there are regulations over the the criminal information files that are kept by the federal internal regulations largely, and how to access that information. Although if I told you about some abuse that some of the things they do with that stuff, check it on girlfriends and boyfriends and who's dating who.
I had some friends that told me I thought they did with police officers. I know.
It's amazing.
I know.
It's
yeah,
amazing.
I'll get him. I know that.
Okay, I'm talking too
No,
much.
that's
Let
okay.
me
I'll
back
get
up.
him. I'm getting him. No, because it was important. I had a friend of mine. He passed away now. That was a police officer, right? But one of the township police, and he had sit back and told me the stuff that he used to do. There was a guy in his town before he became a police officer, because he was a foreigner, and they used to make fun of him and his family. And when he became a police officer, he had the opportunity to make this guy's life miserable. I'm gonna get him in a minute. And he was just telling me, and he said, Joe, I harassed this man day, and I busted for everything I could. He said, I matched him so much that the guy turned in his license just to keep me from bothering him. He told me this, the things that they used to do. You know, I'm gonna get Rick in there, but I just said I learned a lot. He told me a whole bunch of other stuff I learned about police. Oh, I'm sorry about that, Rick. Go ahead.
Don, I got a question for you.
Sure.
You are qualified. I mean, you are a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Have you, or would you ever be interested in helping vets get their benefits?
Yeah, you're talking about administrative law with the Veterans Administration, and
right.
I have worked on cases. Yes, there are some lawyers that specialize in that, because you're talking about it's akin to Social Security benefits and things like that. But
right.
The answer is, if I can help, sure.
The reason why
I don't know how long I'll be around, but
right. Well, I had a lawyer, and he somehow he stopped doing it. And there's a lot of guys in my vet group that, you know, they have like the Legion and the VFW and the DAV, but there's guys in my vet group at the point where they go, you know, I'm in a dead end. These guys ain't helping me, and I just thought I'd throw it out to you, and if you would be willing to talk to these guys, if I can get your name and information, I'll pass it on to them and let them talk to you.
Well, I'm in the book. I'm in Harrisburg.
Okay.
And you know, you can call me there, contact me there. My number.
All right. I'll just have Anna give me your name and phone number, and I'll pass it on the guys in the vet group.
Hold on, he's going to give it to you now.
The number is 219.
Hold on, man.
Hang on. Hold on. I'll tell you, he's going to give it to you.
Get a paper and pencil here.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of veterans have problems. Yeah, we've heard that. Rick and I have been in many times. There are lots of them happening.
Okay, Don, go ahead.
Yeah, it's my phone number is 221-9500. But I'm going to, Rick. It's probably going to sound paranoid, but they mess with my phones a lot. So
okay, 221-9500.
They're tapped.
Yeah.
There's no question. They're tapped.
But
okay, 221-951-9500.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Don.
And if I can help, if I can help, I will. But
I would appreciate it, because I mean, there's so many guys that I've done so much for vets, and you know, they're saying to me, Rick, where do I turn to? I mean, you know, the DEV ain't doing, the Legion ain't doing nothing.
Can I make some?
You being a Vietnam vet, I know what you go through. You know what we go through.
Can I make some suggestions?
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
First of all, the first thing they should do, and I realize, you know, you might scoff at this, but there are some representatives that will really help. I would write to the U.S. senators, and I would write to the U.S. congressmen.
Right. And I know Todd Platts does help us out.
Yeah, there's some. When I was in, my people, we used to bend over backwards to help, and there's a lot of good. You know, not every politician is bad, and they're not all crooked. I mean, there's decent people out there, and if you try to get in touch with them, I don't know individually who's the most helpful, but try that. Number two, you do have a veterans work that's being done in the state, so write your state representative also, because the more people you get helping, and then you know, you have a U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs.
Right. We have a guy in York. I'm trying to think of his name. The guy in York. He's a good friend of mine. He helps us out, but he's so bogged down with cases. You know, he don't even.
What I was going to tell you is the biggest problem.
Yeah,
even for me,
the
volume of inquiries that I get and stuff almost puts it beyond my means, because you know I've won. You know, Rick, in the last 10 years or so, I've won over $5 million in verdicts for my clients. Well, the courts have taken them all away.
Same
See, that's not right.
panel.
Same panels, same judges, they've taken them all away. I won a $1.5 million verdict for 2 state narcotics agents who had sued the Attorney General at the time. It was Mike Fisher.
Right.
Mike Fisher is now sitting on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, and of course that case was overturned. So, you know, it doesn't matter, and that was from a jury. And it was a fair trial, and it was a good case.
Right.
It doesn't matter, you know, what I do. They turn around and stab me in the back.
Well,
But,
yeah, that's sad because you're willing to stand up and help people, and then you know they you know, it's like standing here talking to your face and then turn around and putting a knife in your back.
Yeah, that's what's been my experience.
I'll pass this on to the guys. Like I say, the lawyer I had when he took my case, he told me, Rick, it's going to take me 4 years to file all these briefs and get your files out, and it did. 4 years. I filed briefs. I had hearings. I went down and had C&Ps, and I almost gave up until finally, you know, I had a psychiatrist in Lebanon believed in what happened to me, and he finally gave me my disability that I deserved.
Isn't that the same problem?
You fight for your country and they stab you in the back.
Isn't that the same problem my buddy down in Florida, Keith, is having too? He was saying,
Ray with Keith, same
yeah, but
thing.
like a Vietnam veteran, yeah. I know he was telling me the same thing.
But anyway,
Well, the veterans,
I tell you, I'm listening to you with Steve. I'll tell you, my heart goes out to you because what you're going through, no man should have to go through what you did to try to be a good citizen and help people out. And then what they did to you, you know, it's what I'm saying. This country needs to change because there's so many crooks out there that's unfrickin' real.
But the point is just, let me just get this in real quick. The point is that a lot of people might miss, and a lot of other attorneys might miss. If they join together, they can stop it. We have proven that, you know, like the 99%ers, okay? You can bring about change, but if there's only one person that is fighting by itself, you know, they can keep messing up. But when you get the large group of people together fighting, that's when the change happens. We have
Steve,
shown
one
this.
quick question I had to ask you, Steve, yet. Are you still fighting this thing with what you're going through yet?
Oh, well, see, that's only the tip of the iceberg. On the Judge Connor thing, I filed a motion recently to open that judgment back up.
Okay.
And I backed it up with, you know, with certain pleadings on it, responding to their stuff. But there's an effort right now, and this is what Maria was addressing earlier about with Judge Mariani. They're trying to physically put us out with a Gestapo measure, put us out of our property. They've done it several times now, trying to put us out. And if it wouldn't be for the Occupy movement, you know, and the light that's being shown, and the fact that we're on this show, and I was on radio yesterday and stuff, we would have been long swept under the rug. I mean, what they're doing, I've had sheriff deputies put their hands on me when I'm in court, and their hand on their other pistol, threatening me if I don't stay quiet, and all I'm doing is trying to get the attention of the court. Your Honor. That's all I'm saying, Your Honor.
We're at the freedom of speech, Steve.
Yeah, and now, see, like with all the, I'm not the only client of Don's that's been harmed. There's been a whole host of them, and they've all filed judicial complaints, all of them. Okay, and not a single one of those judicial complaints saw the light of day. What did I do? Based on everything that was happening to me, I filed a federal complaint last December, December of 2010. And I pled in my federal complaint what they're doing, and the fact that I'm associated with Don Bailey is part of what's hurting me and has hurt countless other people, and there should be a grand jury investigation to this middle district. What did they do? The judge struck out of my complaint those portions of of the complaint as if they never existed. And then she went on to label me as having she said, I'm going to recuse myself so he doesn't say I'm retaliating. But then, this is Judge Kane, President Judge Kane. She goes on to say, but I have this long-standing and outrageous pattern of hostility towards the court and its judicial officers. So now I've been falsely labeled. Okay, and I've asked for a hearing on that. You tell me where I've said, you know, anything I've said is impertinent or scandalous or whatever. You tell me where my hostility comes from. I'm the one that's getting attacked from the court.
You know, it almost goes back to, like, you know, the people are just like the vets. You know, you're trying to do right in this country, and what do? You get stabbed in the back.
Well, this gets better. because since I've been labeled that way, and I can't even get a hearing on that or a reconsideration on the fact that I've been labeled. I have an appeal on that and another issue in the Third Circuit has been sitting there since May. Since that time, every time that I went to the federal courthouse to file routine stuff, or my brother, okay, we get followed by federal marshals, and I mean into the bathroom, wherever. Okay,
that is harassment.
Wait a minute, now it gets better. That culminated on September 28th of last year, where the marshal is standing next to me. The clerk's office is a very small office, okay? And he's standing next to me, and he's on the radio, and he's asking whoever he's talking to, do I have to stay with this guy, okay? And I don't know what was said. Back then, he talks about me being on a list.
Oh,
And
God.
I'm like, list? What am I, a security list right now, or Homeland Security? What is this list? So I go to ask him as we're going to the elevator. This is the 10th floor. And I figure, okay, I can ask him on the way down, hey, what's this list I'm on now, all of a sudden?
Yeah.
And he pushes number 8, which came up real quick, and he reaches out the door, holding the elevator open as far as he could, you know, like reaching out as far as he could. And I'm thinking, now what's going on? And I go to ask him, hey, I want to get going and stuff. So I'm being detained. So another federal marshal can get on that elevator with me and follow me out the door.
That is pure harassment.
Gets better.
Oh,
Gets
God.
better. I'm called to testify on behalf of Don Bailey, who is my friend, and I will stand up for him. They will not shut me up.
Right.
And I'm called to testify at a hearing, which is totally bogus, totally set up.
Yeah.
And I'm sequestered with a couple other people for 2 days. I'm there Thursday and Friday. This is August 11th and August 12th. And during this time, all of a sudden, there's these canine dogs being reefed in between us.
It's true.
You know, to see
It's
what's
true.
going on.
Believe me, it's true.
You know, I'm like, what is this about? Now there's canine, I don't know if they're bomb-sniffing dogs or drug-sniffing dogs, and I've been in this courthouse, you know, many times. I've never seen any of these dogs. So I finally get called on the stand on Friday the 12th of August, and I'm on the stand, and all I'm doing is testifying, and wouldn't you know it, a tip staff yells across the bar and threatens to have me arrested. He points, just for I'm testifying, because I'm being disorderly or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay? Excuse me, I'm a little animated right now.
Oh, no, I've been the same way.
And so he's threatening to have me arrested. Well, I don't know what authority this guy has, but he's threatening to have me arrested. He points to police officers in the back of the court, okay, for disorderly conduct. And I'm like, what? And sure enough, after I got off, that killed the testimony. That was official oppression. It interrupted my testimony that was on behalf of Don Bailey. Okay, I was testifying truthfully. I was not out of line. I was never nothing but polite and courteous. And after that, I have 2 policemen standing behind me, and some derogatory marks made by this, and this is Bob Snook, tip staff Bob Snook. Okay, make sure that name's out there because he's going to be in a federal suit. But he says some derogatory things about me and has these officers stand behind me for the rest of the proceeding.
Yeah.
I've even been pulled over recently out of the blue, you know, to have my license checked.
Oh, yeah.
I said, what are you pulling me over for?
Yeah,
we just want to check your license and your registration and stuff
Well,
like that.
I'll
I
tell
said,
you
what did I do wrong?
you
Nothing.
know, it takes a lot for you to go what you're going through, and you know, God bless you. I hope you keep your strength and you make your point and you get done what you got to do. And Don, you know, God bless both you guys. And if I got any problem with the vets, I'll definitely get them and get a hold of you. I appreciate you giving me your number and we're willing to help.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Goddamn, good luck to both you guys, and keep up the faith.
All right, brother.
God bless.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
But I got to ask you now, you just sure that because you got long hair and a ponytail and all that? That'll draw suspicion on you, right? You sure you're part of the pagans or something?
Hey, I'm just trying to do a good thing with, you know, and I've gotten caught up in all this other stuff.
Profiling that they do on people nowadays, that's another thing. Did you ever really understand why they may be looking at you that way just because you stand up for your rights or stuff? Do you ever really?
No, they don't want me to be heard. That's what the issue is.
Okay.
That is fundamentally what the issue is, and the reoccurring theme of everything that I file, and I'm representing myself.
Is it taking some money from them? Is it costing them some money or something?
No. This was what Steve was testifying at was a disciplinary hearing for me.
Okay.
And attorneys simply never ask for these hearings, and they were flabbergasted. We asked for a hearing. The two people working for the Office of Disciplinary Counsel, Paul Killian and another individual named Robert Fulton, quite frankly, lied to the court about these federal judges supposedly complaining about me. They get on the stand. They say that they didn't complain about me. In other words, somebody's lying, and I happen to believe it's both sides, including the judges. But that's not the point. It was Judge Jones, by the way.
And Judge Connor.
And Judge Connor. I don't know that Judge Jones lied. I believe Judge Connor did.
I believe he perjured himself, for sure.
Judge Jones Judge Jones admitted that what he did was he had filed a sanctions order against me and then never gave me a chance to respond because he knew what I was going to say.
That's what he actually wrote. I already know what he's going to say, so we don't need to hear from him.
Did they all belong to the same golf course?
No, I don't know. But
a lot of that happens, you know.
But Joe, I can tell you this. Steve was there. I was the one who was questioning Steve at the time.
Okay.
And I was flabbergasted by what the tip staff did, and I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What are you doing? What are you trying to do here?" In fact, the chairman, quite frankly, the chairman of the committee, and I didn't expect this, but actually he did side with us, and but this guy threatened Steve, completely broke the hearing up, and from my point of view, in terms of interrupting his testimony, and just attacked him and threatened him, and then he starts making faces at me like a Halloween face. I don't.
It sounds like they're trying that you guys are stepping on something they don't want you to know about.
They don't.
Well, we think that's true.
It is
Us to be heard.
Well,
It's as simple
I'll
as
tell you,
that.
let me do this. Let me use your show as the launching ground for the knee.
They're going to be watching me now.
Watching it up. Well, one of the things that became an issue, believe it or not, one of the primary cases had to do with an individual who was an attorney in the disciplinary office who got involved in bringing dogs, I believe unlawfully, in and out of Pennsylvania and selling these dogs. There's huge money in this.
He wasn't kidding the victim, right? Vic said about his dogs and other.
Well, these dogs were being brought in without veterinary checks from other states, and then they were being transported through Pennsylvania, sold in Ohio. My guy was a whistleblower on this. And what happened was this woman who was doing this got protection right in the distance. She was running
Puppy farm, puppy.
It was sort of like a puppy transport thing.
Yeah.
And it was, and ironically, Joe, she had her notification right on her disciplinary site to have people notify her. And she was transporting 50, 60 dogs at a time. So we were sort of laughing today because when we were looking at some of this documentation, they're eliminating that documentation from one of the defenses we had. Now here you've got a disciplinary board working for the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, and they're covering up what really looks to be significant crime. And they get away with that
now,
stuff.
Just about this dog thing, because I noticed that there's a lot of stores that were selling dogs saying that they were certain breeds when they were mixed.
Okay.
Yeah, because what's that?
They may have been doing that. I don't know.
Yeah, they have been doing it because the American Kennel Club. The reason I know because my daughter got hold of one. She wanted a boxer, a purebred boxer, right?
Oh, okay.
And she went and in fact it was an Amish man that was selling his dog. It was Amish.
Okay.
And the guy was telling me, yeah, he's purebred. So when my daughter got the dog, she took to the vet, and the vet said, no, this is not no purebred boxer.
Right.
Because he knew the county. He told what it was mixed with, but it looked like a boxer.
Well.
And she took it back. She had to argue with the guy and got her money until she went and got a purebred boxer with the AKC on it. So some of that's going on too.
Well, this was really major activity here, and I complained about that, and that's when part of this disciplinary stuff started. They began attacking me, and now the documents that have to do. They took this person. this female attorney moved her out of her job at the disciplinary board. She's doing something, they found some place to cover up for her.
Okay.
And then they start attacking me. And this is involved. And some of these people just happen to know a number of the federal judges. One of them including, I think Judge Connor knew some of these people. Jesse Smith was one of the people who worked for the state in a capacity, I believe, as a dog law officer or attorney of some sort. Yeah. And this stuff all I mean, it's an unbelievable story. You can't get it into the major news media. They don't carry the stories. I mean, it's an unbelievable situation.
There was a thing that happened, and I'm going to be careful how I say this because I used to drive motor coach for F&S Bus Company years ago. And one day there was the district attorney was a former district attorney now, but he had rented the bus, 38 passenger bus for 6 people, the whole 38 passengers. And all he went and got all the liquor and stuff on the bus, and then we took me to Philadelphia and some of the places that he was at. On the way up to Philly, I stopped at one of the lights. They did something that caught my attention. He said to the guy, "Hey, put the window down. There was a truck sitting with some ladders on it." He said, "Reach out there and grab them ladders. Bring them ladders out." And I'm sitting and I look back at this man. This man's a district attorney, and he's saying about stealing something. And I said, "They're gonna make me a part of this." And he was there. They was talking about reach out the window and put it on the bus. And I'm looking at him, what? I mean, yeah, I said, because I looked back at him, I said, I don't believe this. That this is a district attorney. And I just turned, I said, oh my God, I ain't getting. I said, because I'm telling you, that you want to call me a whistleblower if they'd have done it, I'm telling you, yes, I would have told you. They ain't get me in trouble. I ain't getting involved in that. I don't care if district attorney or not. Don't bother you, no crap. But I mean, when he said it, but they act like they were going to, but they couldn't get the ladder off. And I heard them took off when the light changed, so they couldn't do it. And I never forgot that. And I just was saying to myself, I can't believe that this man is actually a district attorney and was talking about stealing something. And these are the same people they prosecute and putting in jail for doing stuff.
Well, that's what happened. That's where a lot of this stuff got started. It's Steve, and trying to do something legal and lawful down at his place.
Yeah.
They didn't like it. They come in and use their badge of authority to subvert people's rights. And when you tell folks about this, talking about somebody at the disciplinary board trafficking in dogs and stuff, they think you're crazy.
Well,
I mean, they think
because you're messing their money. That's what you did.
Yeah,
that's what you made them
covering up pedophile rings.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this really reaches across what's going on.
I have a client up at Penn State. If I went through that litigation with you, his patron saint, Judge Kane, who dismissed his case, dismissed an amended complaint on this woman's part where she's trying to defend herself. If you look at this stuff objectively, it's like Pennsylvania's a little, closed shop at the top, and if you rock a boat, you're going to be in trouble. And even though you're doing it lawfully and courteously and properly, this state is pervasively corrupt.
We had where I live at in the city on Columbia Avenue, right? We had some years back, I forget how many years ago, maybe go 5, 10 years, maybe more, I don't know anymore. But there was found out that down the street from us lived a guy that dealt in pedophile and putting child out for prostitution, children. Everybody saw this guy. We knew him. Always spoke every morning. He thought he was one of the nicest guys on the block. Here he was the biggest thing there was all over the country. They was using the internet, and he was putting children out. And I mean, when he got busted, and the address was 10 Columbia Avenue. The guy, I think he's still in prison now. He's still in prison right now. But it was such a shock when he hit the paper when they busted him that they come in and raided him. And here, this guy was the biggest pedophile on the country, right there.
Joe, let me tell you an actual story. Your listeners will love this story, okay? This is an actual story. I had people come to me. They had two different families. They had daughters that they felt were being mistreated at school by a janitor at the school where they went. Eventually, this young girl, one of these young girls, identified the house where she said one of the people that had come to the school had taken her. Just so happened this individual was a captain in the state police. Just so happened that we were able to demonstrate that he did go to this school to do inspections of buses, etc. When we finally got through this process, we found that it looked to us, at least. I mean, the fairest thing to say is it looked to us like the U.S. attorney had sat on the prosecution of this guy because he got caught in a sting down in Alabama dealing in child pornography. And the state police commissioner came in, they sat on this case until this guy could retire with full benefits at his full rank. Now, he did end up going to jail, he did end up being sentenced, but they held on that, and yet that guy was not, as typically what they do when a state police officer is convicted of something, they cut his pension, they give him a dishonorable discharge, etc. Now, this is the kind of thing, the U.S. attorney was part of this deal at the time, the U.S. attorney at the time, who's now a judge. Now the point is, the point is that I don't know what's going on in this state with pedophilia and this stuff that went on in Penn State, but the covering up, the protecting friends, the abusing the public and abusing children is what's going on in this state, and it's happening at high levels with high levels of protection. Just like my client was thrown out of court on her case, had to go back, and now she's back in on a reconsideration, and they're trying to dismiss that case again. And you know, you can't get it reported in the Harrisburg paper.
Well, there's stuff that goes on here, that's why. There's a lot of stuff I'm not allowed to talk about anymore. You know, when I knew people that was into the drug stuff, and they sent them to these rehabs, right? And I remember when we go to visit anyone that you knew on there, you had to swear to secrecy, you wouldn't divulge. When I went there and when I saw people in there, judges, lawyers, police officers, just as other citizens, I was shocked because I knew most of all of them. Judges, police officers, lawyers, all this under this man, all on drug abuse. And I sat there, my mouth went to the floor. You're not allowed to mention anybody's name you saw in there. And I said, oh my God, I knew them people. I used to talk to them. I didn't know that they had that problem. You would have never known that. I was shocked. I said, oh my God. Then I realized how bad the drug problem is in our town. You know, when you saw judges and lawyers and police officers in there, you know. Now, I know we just had this case as well, not too long ago, where the York City police guy was hooked on the drugs, and, you know, they was taking care of that. He was in the drug, was holding the drug where they lock him up, and he was hooked on it. And they just had that cleared up. They got, you know, him doing that. I guess they sent him to rehab or something or whatever they done with that. But, I mean, that goes to show you how bad our drug problem is in this town. You know, well, you know, like I said, when I had the kids call me, I told them I try my best to educate them on the drugs. You know, they've asked me, like I said earlier, why don't you legalize marijuana? And when I explained to them the dangers of the stuff that I've seen that happen with it, you know, they're now coming out that it's causing all kinds of other the mental problems. You know, they're down. You know, there's so much stuff. It takes them years to analyze it before they can come up with the facts on it. Just like they used to tell me, yes, it'll cause cancer too. Because, see, there was people who used to argue with me, there's an agent in marijuana that can counter the cancer cause it, but it's not strong enough to kill it. It'll still give you just as a regular cigarette. And that's actually smoking marijuana, one marijuana cigarette is equal to smoking regular 5 other cigarettes. And I was getting with this information to get this stuff, what it does. And it leads on to other drugs. And then they were trying to argue this down. And I'll be with the, oh, no, it don't. Yes, it do. Because I know a lot of people that can verify this.
You know the kicker to this, though?
Yeah.
There's a push, and this is a whole different subject, but there's a push about having kids under legal pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
That do as much, if not more, damage
than marijuana.
Then just you know, whatever the illicit drug is, marijuana included, that do as much or more damage, but that's acceptable. That's acceptable if we can numb them down and be like cattle going through the chute, because we can't control them, or we, you know, they have ADHD, so they need to be on some kind of drug.
Because it's tax, because they get the tax money. See, this is what I've argued about that issue too. Here's what's going with the drug industry, and I know most of you probably know that, is that the drug industry don't mind getting sued. Now, I'm going to tell you why, because first of all, by the time you get ready to sue them, they make billions compared to a few millions that you find them. So they always come out ahead. Right. They're popping out drugs. And I said, have you ever sit back and listen to what they tell you? Because the law makes them tell you all the side effects. And I hear them telling drugs, some of them drugs, yeah, they say can cause death and all that. And I say, did you hear that? And if people say, and ask your doctor, and if this is right for you, I said, go talk to your doctor. I said, wait a minute. There are drugs that my wife with diabetes is taking, and now they're now telling how dangerous that they are. You know, she ain't in, I got to get this here. I'll take it in there. Hello, you live with Joe. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I'd like to talk to Joe.
I'm on the phone. I'm answering to you, Peggy.
Oh, hi, Joe.
I recognize your voice anywhere.
How come you're answering the phone?
Because Anna went 10-100. That's CB talk. But went to the bathroom.
Oh.
Yeah, she had to make a call. Go ahead. So what's on your mind?
Well, how are you doing?
I'm doing quite well.
Good. I'm good.
I just
good to hear that.
celebrate my 150th birthday.
Oh, goodness.
I look good, don't I?
Well, you only have about,
Another
20
100
years
years
to
ago.
go?
That's it. Then it's over. So what's up with you? You sound better.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
You ain't smoking them cigarettes, are you?
Which ones?
You smoking them, I can tell. Mhm. I didn't hear you cough yet, that's why I was listening. So what's new with you?
Well, not much. I just wanted to say to Mr. Conklin and Mr. Bailey,
Okay.
you know, it's unbelievable, but it's so believable. It's what a lot of us, well, many of us feel out here and think out here about what's going on with the government and how it, what it does to people. And once you get your name in there and you get they get a bad vibe, or they don't like what they hear, and it keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on, and it's like it never stops. I don't know how Stephen handles this. I don't know how Mr. Conklin handles this. Stress-wise, how do you handle this stress-wise?
Well, they can speak for themselves, but I know you got to be strong.
Well, I can't say I don't have moments that, like, you know, it just gets, you know, my battle's been going on overall for 13 years.
Oh, my God.
And right now, there's an effort to have me, you know, forcibly removed from my home and my family. I have an 84-year-old father who's in bad health because they want to shut me up. And I have one reoccurring theme. And that is, I will be heard. And that's why I'm here now. I mean, I'm going to be heard. They're not going to shut me up. And, you know, I'm not going to abandon my friend. You know, Don's a good man, and he does a good thing. I mean, if people just understood what was going on, they would rally around him. And so because I put myself in that position, I'm just labeled that much more. But I'm not going to quit. I'm just not. I believe in God. I believe, you know, all things happen for a reason. And the fact that I'm here now is just, you know, another outlet for it.
Well, this is great that you guys are on here.
But let me say something, Peg. I want to make sure people understand a whole bunch of other stuff that as I'm learning. The thing that concerns me, the president just signed this new bill into effect, which means they can arrest anyone for suspicion without a judge or a trial or anything and hold you indefinitely. It's a roundabout way. They still got it that way. The president tried to eliminate some of it, but it sounds to me like it can still happen. If they think that if they just suspicious, if you don't be careful what you say, they can label you as an enemy of the state, the country, or whatever. And they can put you in jail, no representation, no lawyer, and that stuff.
All in the name of security.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
You know, now you either have freedom or security.
Right, and that really something that upsets me a little bit. I mean, you can run. I'll give it. But that really sort of thank you. But that really
no, thank you.
But that really concerns it. It should concern all the citizens as to what's going on in our country here. Why, you know, your freedom of speech, you got to be very careful of. I know we can't run out and holler fire in the theater. I don't know why, if there's a fire, but anyway. But you can't do that. But I'm saying that we're being under attack. Freedom of speech has been under attack. The thing that's going to, you know, I asked this question now. You know, we just got this new thing with the police department where they got the cameras on the car and they can drive past and take all your tags and they ride real slow and it tells them if you got warrants on you and anything, another invasion of privacy. And the police, you know, well, every time we make a new law, that's just another freedom you lost. It's freedom, you know, because like I said, when I was coming up, I know I'm an old person, you could walk down the street and drink all your beer all you want. Now you can't do that. You got to be on your step. You know, they allow you to stay on your step now. If you step off, you can be arrested with it. You know, all these rules that have changed. I understand drunk driving and all that stuff, but there's so many laws that have been made now, and those are freedoms of law, and they're still working on more. what is going to happen with the worker bee and the Illuminati and the New World Order that's taken over. I told the people about this new order that a lot of people are forgetting about that involves former President Bill Clinton, one of the news anchors, and Tony Blair. They all meet every so often. They're the ones that's actually running the country. People aren't aware of that. Have you heard about it?
Yeah, I remember you talking about it.
Yeah, they're the ones that's actually running the country. You think the president knows you, and it's dumb. They made the decision what the taxes are going to be and everything. They're the ones that's running it, and the people don't know that. So you think the president, well, he's just a full fall guy because they're behind the scene. And whenever these people meet, they got armed guards around them. Nobody's know nothing. It's highly secretive. Even the Queen's involved in it. All this is, it's a highly secret thing. They really run this country. And that's what everybody don't know. So I don't know if I got to be friends with the Queen in order to get some changes. Go talk to Bill and say, hey, shake hands or whatever. I ain't, I said I believe you, Monica Lincoln, lied on you. I know you didn't do it, whatever. So you got to do something like that or whatever we got to say to get a watch so we can get something done. But that's what it amounts to, really. That's what's going on.
I'll tell you a short incident that happened to me. I'm not going to go into the whole story.
Did you get rid of that reverse mortgage?
I think so.
Okay. See, I told you because I signed a bunch more. I don't know but I'm a notary public, and I do closings for a lot of these loan companies.
Yeah, well, I'll be coming to see you about mine.
We should talk about that.
Taxes.
Oh, you want to? Okay, go ahead. I'm innocent until I didn't do it. Okay, what do you want me to see me about? What do you want me about that will, or what was it?
Yeah, that too.
Okay. All right.
You never know. I mean,
I'll talk to you about that. You want me to make you up a will?
Bam.
Okay. I know. But go ahead. What else you want to talk about? Tell me. Hurry up. Hurry up. I've known the guy an hour.
This is a large incident, but to tell it I'd have to be on your show.
Well, tell me all your business, because I want to know. I'm nosy.
Well, I think I've already told you a lot of it.
I know, but I'm still nosy.
I had an attorney for my son. Now I paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for.
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
And they were giving my son a really long sentence in prison.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that, yeah.
And I couldn't understand why they would give him such a long sentence like that.
Yeah.
But then the lawyer I had gotten called me, and this is after it was all over, and said, the judge and I were in this together, and if you tell anybody, I'll just deny it. And hung up.
No.
I was never so shocked.
Yeah.
And I was afraid to do anything.
Well, I've heard stuff like that before. I was
scared to death.
Yeah, I've been told about a lot of things.
And that's just the ending of the whole story.
Yeah, I know. I've heard of that before, believe me. Like I said, it's a lot of times I find a lot of stuff behind the scenes I ain't allowed to discuss on TV. People tell me, and I got to keep my mouth shut. I just take things from the television, so I watch my back, I watch this here, watch who I talk to. Well, I get informed of a lot of stuff, believe me.
But what's happening to these guys here is just...
It's a dictator.
You should write a book, Mr. Bailey, and Steve.
Yeah,
you should write books when...
To inform people. Because, when I was saying, I don't mean to take all their spot because they got time, but I think that they need to get more people to join in with them, especially attorneys, okay, and stop letting them intimidate the lawyer. I mean,
let me try to address that point, though, Peg and Joe, if I
go ahead.
Here is the problem. I have people in the system, people whose rights that I'm, trying to present, who have claims in the system. And a good example is I was involved in the legal process in a case, a matter of a few weeks ago. The judge in that particular case is just totally fair, honest, objective. We were treated fairly. I have other cases. Not everybody's bad, not everybody is a crook. The trouble is, what these fools, and they're fools, I mean, there's a handful of judges, a clique here. They're largely in the Middle District of Pennsylvania and at the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, and might be elsewhere. The point is that they have engaged in a course of conduct which pretty well demonstrates their wrongdoing. They're stupid enough to think that they're going to either shut me up or shut me down by taking my license. And you know what they're going to do? these dummies, they're going to free me up. Because they're not going to intimidate me, and it's just, and you know, you asked a question earlier on to Steve about dealing with the stress of these things. I have a little bit of an advantage on most folks, and that was being put through that combat cauldron, and it really does help me. We used to have a saying when I was in the service, what are you going to do to us, send us to Vietnam? I mean, you know, the point is that you go through terrible stuff, and you learn things about what you're like inside. And I swore, and I used to, when I came back and I went to law school after I was in the service, I used to think back on Thomas Jefferson and his frequently quoted comments about, you know, I swear eternal opposition in front of Almighty God against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. Now, I know I'm not saying it right, but words to that effect. And to me, that's become akin to a religious experience. And I come in and sit down, it's like working with Steve on this case. I would tell you, I don't know another attorney who would have stuck with Steve the way I stuck with him. But you know why I stuck with him? I stuck with Steve because it was an honor and a privilege to represent an honest, decent, law-abiding American citizen, has strong religious beliefs, I admire him for that, and who does the right thing for the right reason. And to me, this is everything that, as a country, we've shed oceans of blood for, and then we've got federal judges with huge salaries. In one case here, who was running around telling some neighbors of his, as he was dealing with them on a property issue, that he's a federal judge. The idea being that he's powerful and he has influence and he can do this and do that. Well, you know, after the Civil War, we lost 600 and some thousand lives trying to do something right to make America better, and white lives and black lives and getting rid of slavery and writing the 14th Amendment. And one of those clauses in that 14th Amendment is, quote, the equal protections of the law. Well, that's my religion. That's my religion. And to me, that's what we're about as a country. And if I'm over in Vietnam and I'm fighting for what I believe is right, and I happen to believe the moral cause of that war were just, the point is, whatever we're doing, my frame of reference in my life is, this is what my country's about, this is what I'm about. Now the question becomes, do I have the guts, if I could stand up to that kind of pressure in that combat situation, do I have the guts? To me, this is my frame of reference. Do I have the guts to stand by a decent man who comes to me for advice and asks my help? And I'll die with him if I have to. I don't take that wrong. We don't threaten folks.
That wasn't an invitation to outside forces.
No, it's not. We don't believe. We do not believe in violence. You know, I've been invited to speak at a thing Monday that'll probably bring a few spies. But when I get down there Monday to do that, it's Martin Luther King Day.
Right.
When I was in the United States Congress, I was lucky enough to be there at the Congress when that holiday was voted on, and I voted for it. And here's a guy, a man who is absolutely one of the greatest leaders, the greatest, a man who showed the way, to whom we should be grateful.
Yeah, he put his life on the line.
He laid his life on the line, and, you know, he made that phrase about, he's going to get to the promised land, but he doesn't not get there with you. But he knew.
Right.
He knew what was coming at him.
He had the threats made on him. They told him they were going to kill him.
I may not be entitled to shine his shoes, and I'm not saying I am, and I'm not comparing myself to somebody as great as he was. But he was he believed in civil disobedience. I do. And I do not believe in violence. If I got to go to a war somewhere and fight, I'm going to do it, and I'll take my chances or I'll live or die. But I'm living in this country. I love this country. I do not believe in violence against her citizens or against her officials, but I've got to do what I can within the law. Now, when you go to the law for a hearing and the judge is crooked, and we've got some crooked judges because we got a bad system, and I can't say what I think, even after I'm abused. The judge that didn't let me respond to citing me for sanctions, taking money out of my family's mouth, taking money out of my mouth, taking money away from my clients. You know what they went after me for? Because I said in a brief that the judges in the case were misbehaving. That's what it takes in America to get a federal court judge to sanction you and try to go after your license. That's justice in America. How can any lawyer represent a client? How can any lawyer represent this country? How can any lawyer represent what the First Amendment's all about? If you're going to take his license away because he mentions in court the obvious, because a bunch of crooks take away my right to call witnesses, my right to express myself. America, in the court system, is the most unfair, dishonest, unjust place in American institutions. We're always jumping on the president, and I happen to be a very proud Obama supporter, I don't mind saying. And we always jump on the Congress, and we jump on, and I disagree with things that I've seen congressmen do. I served with congressmen I disagreed with totally, but they were good and decent people. But we go after the Congress, we go after the Senate, we should. But this country is like a mouse when it comes to talking about judicial abuse. And the primary problem in America to prevent what are called judiciable issues, controversial issues, from getting in front of the public. And it happened to Steve Conklin. It happened in the writ of certiorari that he wrote and submitted to the Supreme Court, where his rights were abused by a system that defers to banks and collection agencies and sheriffs more than it does to the rights of an American citizen to enjoy property. I'll guarantee you, if they were talking about this property levels at the rate that we see when we watch TV with people that are millionaires and above, there's nobody going to interfere with their damn property rights. But when they can take Steve Conklin's property and throw his family in the street and dispossess his father and his siblings and get them out and throw them out in the street and break the law at the same time, our courts are rolling with it. That's what I'm against.
What did
you have
just
anything to say there, Don?
Well, in a way, mine's a very small way.
No, but he's
got
got it. But he's right. He's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. No, I thought it's hard that.
Absolutely did
not.
I thought it's hard that. I thought it's hard that. I had a crooked judge and I had a crooked lawyer.
We know that,
and he was a very well-known lawyer.
But you know, Peggy, there's very few the lawyers like yourself and people that are lawyers that want to stick up. No, I thought what he was talking about, because you could feel his passion. What he was serious about what he felt. People get tired of people being messed over. Law-abiding citizens. They get tired of seeing the injustices. I know that. We have people calling here all the time the same thing. They feel that the court system, how you're not getting a fair shake, you're just being messed over. And I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know, maybe you hit it on the head, what's going on with this system. I've also said something, and I said this many times to people, so that's probably why they watch me. I said, I think it's written in our Constitution that if you ain't happy with the government, you can throw them out and get a new one. I said, but it ain't going to happen because our militia, now they don't badmouth them so bad. So we got them thinking they're the enemy of the country now. But the militia is supposed to be ready to act for the president, anyway. But there's nowhere in the world you're going to change the government because they got all the weapons we don't. That's why they're taking all your guns from you, so you can't fight them like it was when the country was started. You might end up with a BB gun or something. They might let you have that, but you're not going to be able to take over this country no more. Even though it's written there. But
is there anything I can do? Write a letter? Anything that I can do for Steve and for you, Mr. Bailey, that
don't worry. My fight is going to be, like I said, these dummies, they have this sick and twisted idea somehow they're going to intimidate and make me afraid, and they're not going to do that. They have to kill me to shut me up, and if they want to do that, that's fine. Now, as far as Steve is concerned, Yeah, I think there are things that you can do.
Okay.
One of the things that I would do that I wish Steve would do, because it explains to a great degree what happened to him, is get that writ of certiorari of his, if it's not on the internet, to get it out. Number two, I think there's a real simple way of looking at Steve's problem, and I'm going to tell you what it is. It's real simple. It's real simple, but it doesn't get talked about very much. You saw hints of it a few months ago. What happened was, a guy gets a mortgage, a woman gets a mortgage, family gets a mortgage. This mortgage ends up being bought and sold by sometimes dozens of people. They use a process called arbitrage to make a penny or make a penny here or there. Then they take a part of that mortgage process, which is a promissory note. And by the way, I thank a guy who ought to be an attorney. His name's Steve Conklin, because he's better and smarter and more capable than a lot of lawyers, very frankly, for educating me on this point. But I went in and I studied it, and he's 1,000% right. They take this thing called a promissory note. Believe it or not, it has value. It has a great deal of value, and it has to be treated in a certain way and according to certain rules. So what they did was, some of these clever financiers, these rip-off artists that live and work at Wall Street and places like that, they took that thing, they called it a security, and they bundled it up with a whole bunch like that. And then they took it and they went out and they borrowed money against that. Now, when they came into foreclosing on Steve, Steve asked a simple question. He says, "Where is my paperwork? First of all, you've taken payments from me, and you've given me no accounting. You got some lawyers that took payments from him, and I think they pocketed the money, quite frankly. And I'm telling you, I believe they did. He never got credit or accounting for that. All the guy is saying is, hey, what have I paid in here? What's it worth? What's my equity, etc.? All he tried to do was to cure that problem. Now, they could not show that paperwork. And I'm telling you right now, the judges from the local level through the Supreme Court of the United States had right in front of them the knowledge and the facts and the information to demonstrate that that security interest of his, which he's technically still liable for, not being presented in a foreclosure proceeding in order to take his place from him, while they haven't even done the basics of showing an accounting, showing what he owes. Now,
is it safe to say if
the outrageous part of this, and I'm going to let him talk because he knows a hell of a lot more than I do. The thing is this, okay? If I'm an American citizen, and I'm a lawyer, and I'm a banker, and I'm a lawmaker, if I can't rely on the law as simple and basic as this is, and then courts are going to sit there because what happens is this almighty bank comes in with this law firm, they do what they lie, they mislead, they do all kinds of things, they constantly get away with it. You roll it over, you try to appeal it to the next level of court, and they're not going to rock that mighty financial boat and let him have his property, or at least give him decent answers for what he's lost. No, they don't do that. That's the law. That's what they say it should do. But yet you got a court system at every level after every level after every level that breaks the law and does not acknowledge what's occurring in that system.
And never a hearing. And never a hearing.
And then their due process, never a hearing. I turned it over to Steve.
We got about 3 minutes. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I was self-employed for many years. I came and found this farm. It's 112 acres. And whether you want to call it the proverbial bump in the head, because I actually had a big tree hit me on the head, or my spiritual conversion, I changed my life. I took a vow never to work for money again. Now, the bank comes to me and says, you owe us this money, and they added this like $14,400 extra on the thing. My solution, listen, let me divide off X number of lots, and I will pay the entire thing off, including your arrearages. All I want to see is the original notes and a proper full accounting. I can't get either. Okay?
You still haven't gotten it.
No, ever. and I can't even get a hearing. I'm still fighting to get a hearing 13 years afterwards where I can present my evidence. They've come forth with major fraudulent documents that I have supported by expert witness Lynn Simoniak, who was featured on April 3rd, 60 Minutes, you know, that shows it's all fraud.
Okay.
If the Supreme Court would have heard my writ of certiorari, I guarantee you would have shut down 90% of all foreclosures across the country.
Okay, let's talk, what can she do to help you real quick? We only got 2 minutes.
You can check out the websites. I mean, we have a call-in or write-in thing to Judge Mariani going on, and that would be spelled
I
out.
think I heard.
You got most of that? All right, because we only got about a minute and a half here, and I'm going to...
You know, all I want is my day to be heard. And I'm telling you, through all my learning from this, you know, there's not a single foreclosure going on in this state, and especially in this county. This county does more foreclosures than Cumberland, Dauphin, Lebanon, and Perry counties combined. Combined! Okay? Right. Not a single one is legal. Not a single one of them is legal.
All right.
And if I get my word out, I'm going to shut them down.